You're listening to One Sweet Wrestling Podcast.
One Sweet Wrestling Podcast.
With your host, Beto Barragan.
And we all know that when the good Lord created man, he meant for him to look just like me.
And Alex Lewicki.
The tower of power, too sweet to be sour. I'm funky like a monkey. Sky's the limit and space is the place.
The podcast made by fans for wrestling fans.
One sweet, one sweet, one sweet, one sweet.
You're listening to One Sweet Wrestling Podcast. All right, we're here with episode 5 of One Sweet Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Beto Barragan, and with me, as always, the chosen one,
Alex Lewicki. What's going on, folks?
Baby. We got the Alex Lewicki here, baby. That is, and we was about to give y'all a little treat for y'all. The last episode, if you will, of One Sweet Wrestling Podcast for the year of 2017, baby. Was that good?
Yeah, no, that works for me.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So we're gonna kick it off from the get. What we got on headlines for us?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Rolling Stone has named The Miz the WWE Wrestler of the Year. Now, it looks like what they're going off of is earlier in the year, the whole John Cena and Nikki Bella against Miz and Maurice feud that led into WrestleMania, and ultimately John Cena's proposal to Nikki Bella. It was a really good promotion. The Miz really showed that he is as good of a talker as basically anybody in the business at this point. You look at the Miztourage, you look at his run with the Intercontinental Championship, I could see it, but honestly, for me, not the WWE Wrestler of the Year. Out of all that company, no. What do you think?
It's kind of hard to tell because I am a Miz fan. I like the Miz. The only thing that I have a problem with that is, I guess if they're going off of WWE, it's hard to say because to me it's kind of like, okay, the Miz kind of fell off after that WrestleMania run with Maurice and John Cena and Nikki Bella. The one to me that broke out huge, and I think we were talking about this earlier, and you actually made this point, Alex, and I'm going to agree with you on it, is Braun Strowman. Because Braun actually broke out from being a monster heel to becoming a monster babyface, if that's possible.
Yeah, he was the only one out of that Wyatt family that looks like he actually did anything. Ultimately, he didn't even need the Wyatt family for him to get this success, this push. I think people just like the fact that he was just destroying Roman Reigns over and over. Whoever decided to do that booking, great job, because you see the guy that the crowd hates, and you get this monster that's obviously, it's like Doomsday against Superman. Doomsday just destroys Superman. It's the same that Braun Strowman destroys Roman Reigns, and we love him for it.
It's a good analogy because then what happened after Doomsday destroyed Superman? He had a group of Supermen, which is basically
The Shield.
The Shield.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And Dean Ambrose is out with injury.
They said for about 9 months.
So, I mean,
yeah, he's going to be gone till about SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I hate to see this guy hurt, but I hope that they can do something with his character. They go, in that 9 months, they go, hey, you know what? It was getting a little stale at the end, so maybe we repackage you. Because now they have to figure a way to get the Shield completely off TV.
I'm gonna segue because then that's when you throw in Jason Jordan winning the tag team titles with Seth Rollins. But before we get there, congrats to The Miz, even though we don't necessarily agree with it. But I like The Miz. I want to see him back in the Intercontinental or maybe the Universal title picture eventually and see what happens.
I think he probably has a good, 5-10 more years in this company. He's young.
Definitely.
Congratulations on his new child that is soon to be.
Yeah.
So, he's having a pretty stellar year overall.
I think so. I agree with that. So congrats to The Miz. But we're talking now Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins, who won the Raw tag team titles this past Monday on Monday Night Raw, which is kind of weird.
They beat The Bar.
Yeah.
Sheamus and Cesaro are no pushovers.
Right. And that's TV. That's on TV that they did this.
Yeah. Free Raw. It was on Christmas.
Yeah.
I see what they're doing. But ultimately, I don't know how you feel about Jason Jordan. He's a good wrestler. I really think they should have never broken up American Alpha.
I agree. I'm more of a Chad Gable fan as far as like the two. If you were to pit them against each other, I prefer Chad Gable over Jason Jordan. I feel like, and maybe it's just a bias, but I feel like Jason Jordan to me is kind of like a Maven character.
My issue with Jason Jordan, his wrestling's stellar. The problem that I have is they tried forcing a storyline of him being Kurt Angle's son. It lasted 1 week, and it died a terrible death on that show. So for me, this isn't really working for his character because it's this weird gray area of, is he still being portrayed as Kurt Angle's son? Is he trying to be pushed off as his own man now? I think they should just, if they are going with the Kurt Angle gimmick, just dead it. Just have him go off. Yeah, just have him go off screen for a while, and then they go, oh, hey,
remember this?
Yeah,
it's Kurt Angle's kid.
Yeah, the lifespan of a storyline goes about the lifespan of a goldfish. You got about a week or two, and then you can change it, and the WWE will think, oh, well, the fans, they don't care what happened last week. There's no continuity. No, just kill it. I'm perfectly fine with this being deaded.
And I'm seeing a change in Jason Jordan's character, actually. If you listen to some of the things that he's telling Seth Rollins when he's getting prepped for the match against The Bar, he mentions something like, oh, I'll be better than Dean Ambrose. Oh, don't worry. We'll get the titles because I'm better than Dean Ambrose. When Dean Ambrose comes back, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Shield relationship takes into play with Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan being the tag team champions. Do they hold it that long, or do they disband at some point before Dean Ambrose comes back? Does that cause a rift in the Shield once more? What is that gonna cause? So it's kind of like, I feel like WWE changing the titles onto Rollins and Jordan is kind of like, where are we going to go now? I don't see this as a long-term investment in Jason Jordan.
Ultimately, I think this goes until February, and then right after the Royal Rumble, they're going to do whatever they can to get that world title picture, maybe with Seth Rollins in it, maybe not. So at some point, they're going to have to give the title back to The Bar or whoever, maybe the Revival.
I could see that.
They
are back, aren't they?
They are. They just came back a week or two ago.
So should be an interesting run with the tag titles.
See, my whole thing is with the tag team scene is I guess I'm a tag team purist. If you just pair up two people randomly and they win the title, it almost feels not cheap. It just feels very rushed. You don't have a tag team like Demolition. Well, I guess you do in the Revival. You need to build them up, bring back some jobbers, have them beat them 3 weeks straight, and then you get them building up for a title picture or organically, not just, okay, hey, you Rollins, you Jordan, we're going to pair you up 1 week and you're going to win. It means nothing.
It's kind of like, I want to say the late 90s when they put the Rock and Sock connection together, Mankind and The Rock. But see, the thing is, it worked.
They have chemistry.
They had chemistry because they were foes at some point.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Sheamus and Cesaro. They were foes at some point.
Exactly.
They put them together. They became a tag team, and they got their look down, and they formed a cohesive unit. It's like, Mick Foley running around with those. I'm not going to lie. Those sports jackets were awesome.
Oh, the plaid ones?
No. They were black with gold trim, and they said Rock and Sock Connection. Do you remember that when he brought those out on The Rock, This Is Your Life?
Vaguely, I have to relook at them. I'm sure they look
check
awesome.
It out. We'll probably post it on Instagram, on One Sweet Wrestling Podcast on Instagram, and check it out. It's pretty neat. I liked them a lot. I don't know. That's just me.
So going from there, segueing away from the WWE, in news I guess you could kind of tie this into the WWE universe.
Sure.
One Flip Gordon teased on Twitter that he may be going someplace very soon with the letters NXT.
Yeah. So we actually got this tweet from a buddy of ours, Jose Banuelos, who just sent this to me. And it said, "Next year will be even better, winky face." And a comment from the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson, replying to Flip Gordon, "Oh, so that's where you were really going, sad face."
And the next has a capital N, capital X, and capital T.
Yeah.
So
where do you think you're going?
I think he has a really good idea of where he's going.
Yeah.
I was giving this some thought this morning.
Sure.
I think it's a good move for Flip Gordon, just not right now. I personally would like to see him go to Japan. They have a working relationship with New Japan. Have him go through the best of the Super Juniors. Really have him showcase his high-flying ability. You see what happened when Marty Scurll did that last year. The same thing happened with Will Ospreay and Ricochet. Mm-hmm. After that Super Junior tournament, their stock skyrocketed. I think Flip Gordon could really do well to do that. You have a year, man. You're young. You're really talented. I think he needs to go abroad, get himself a little bit more exposure. I know he's worked in Mexico with the Bucks. I think he should go to New Japan, do a tour with, the Super Juniors, and then after that's done, fly over to NXT. But hey, I don't know when this opportunity would come up for him again. If this is a once in a lifetime, go for it. But I know what I'd like to see, and that's it.
I'm kind of torn in between on that because right now the Bullet Club, the Young Bucks, that camp is like the hottest thing right now in pro wrestling. And a lot of hardcore diehard fans are watching shows like Being the Elite and things like that. And that's awesome. I know we are, whenever every chance we get.
We were on it, by the way. If you look at the episode from San Antonio, we are in the crowd. And if you find us, send us a screenshot.
Yeah, send us a screenshot and we'll hook you up with a new One Sweet Wrestling podcast t-shirt. I think that's fair.
Yeah, do the work, guys.
Yeah. Go for it. I think that it could be a good thing for him in the fact that he's going to get his name out there, a little more brand exposure, but he's not going to be known as Flip Gordon. I mean, I don't know. We're not insiders here, but the proof is in the pudding that once you're in the WWE, Vince McMahon, for the most part, is going to change your name to something else.
Yeah.
He might be the new GI Bro. We don't know because Flip did serve in the military, did he not?
I think he's still in active reserve.
Yeah. So
I think I'm not 100%.
Right.
I can't.
We'll fact check that, but I mean, you have all these elements that are there, but I mean, to your point, sending him to Japan wouldn't be the worst idea for him. I mean, he's got a fan base in Ring of Honor, and then with the working relationship of Ring of Honor, like you said, and New Japan, why not?
Why not?
So, I mean, just a number of things. So, who knows? Good luck to Flip if he actually does go to NXT. And
man.
I mean, more power to him.
Yeah, go make that money. Hey, if that opportunity fell in my lap, I don't know if I would say no either.
Yeah, true.
So, lastly, kind of going back to the WWE, there is a U.S. Championship tournament going on in SmackDown.
Yes.
So far, as it stands, 2 people have advanced in this tournament, Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal. Now, there's a couple more matches going on. This is ultimately going to culminate in the Royal Rumble. I'm sure there's going to be a title match to decide, hey, there's a new. So the next couple matches that are coming up, Xavier Woods against Aiden English, which I think is actually a pretty good one-on-one. Xavier Woods and Aiden English are really good wrestlers. So I see Xavier Woods going over on this and getting the push. Now, the next match is something that I think they're doing some storyline really smart with. Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley.
Really?
Yeah. I personally can see Mojo Rawley getting the push on this.
I see it too. And I love Zack Ryder, but the thing is they're pushing Mojo Rawley because, I mean, they got to push the new hype bro. Zack Ryder's been in the WWE for a while now.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done anything with the guy by now, I mean, yeah, you have. I mean, okay, let me backtrack here because I don't want us to get hate mail or anything like that. But if you do send us hate mail, please send it to onesweetwrestling@gmail.com just so we can get all that cleared up. But I mean, to be honest, if you're gonna go with Zack Ryder on this one, I mean, I feel it's ran its course.
He's won the Intercontinental Championship and nothing really happened with it.
Yeah, there's been no prestige to it. I mean, like I said, I like Zack Ryder, but the thing is where are we going with it after he wins a title? What happens? He loses it the next night.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Personally, I think the end result is going to be Bobby Roode against Jinder Mahal.
With Jinder winning?
No, I say Bobby Roode's going to win.
I would like that, but for some reason, I'm seeing that Jinder Mahal is going to be the one to take it all.
My only issue with Jinder Mahal is now that the whole India tour is over and done with, I think he's going to start getting pushed kind of back to the mid-card. Honestly, the U.S. Championship tournament is... It feels like a middle ground for me. Like with Bobby Roode and Mojo Rawley, this is a step to propel them.
Yeah.
For people like Jinder Mahal and Zack Ryder... Zack Ryder's always going to be kind of in the middle ground for me, but Jinder Mahal going from the champion, this is almost a step down. I understand why, but at the same time, you know, it's just... It's
a great way, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's a great way to grab your talent that is that basically is on the main roster, but needs rebranding or rehashing or just kind of like tweaking here and there to get them back in the mid card to where you have to rework them, leave them on the mid card for a little while, and then when your top guys start to ride into the sunset or whatever, or you know they run their course, you have a recycling of guys from the mid card to go over to your you know main title picture, and you just kind of you know filter them every which way you can.
My only thing is with Jinder Mahal, you can basically shoehorn him into a title picture anywhere you want.
Yeah.
I think this should be given to somebody that's in some need of, you know, something, and I think that should have been Sami Zayn. That's a great tournament for him to be in with anybody that he has to wrestle. Bobby Roode against Sami Zayn, it would be awesome. Zack Ryder, same thing. Mojo Rawley, NXT right there. So... But at the end of the day, ultimately, I would like to see Bobby Roode win this.
I agree. I'm going to go with Bobby Roode as well. And what a great way to end it at Royal Rumble. If you're going to do it, if you do it that way.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
You know, I mean, at least you have two guys that have an opportunity to go for a title at the Royal Rumble, and maybe they even enter the Rumble, or if they don't necessarily have to.
Yeah. No, I think it's a cool way to be able to get at least a couple minutes of, hey, he just won the U.S. title, and maybe now he can win go for two. You know, something like that.
Some prestige to it.
Ultimately, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll just wait and see. So, sounds like that was your headlines?
Those are the headlines for this week.
Those are the headlines. If you're looking for a unique, clean, and comfortable shop to get your next tattoo, check out the artists at Galavetta's Tattoos. They're located downtown San Antonio at 628 South St. Mary's, just north of Cesar Chavez. Galavetta's is home to some of the best, most experienced tattoo artists in San Antonio, and the only shop in town with 4 female artists on staff. Established in 2005, Galavetta's Tattoos offers a variety of styles and the highest quality tattoos with a price that won't hurt your budget. So stop by for a consultation or give them a call to schedule one. It's easy. 210-227-7673. That's 210-227-7673. Galavetta's Tattoos, San Antonio's favorite tattoo shop.
Hey guys, Anthony Cortez Haynes here, that wrestling video guy, and you're listening to One Sweet Wrestling Podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it. We'll hear a lot more from Anthony Cortez Haynes, that funny wrestling video guy. But we have our predictions for 2018. So, Alex, you want to go ahead and do the honors for your predictions of wrestling in 2018?
All right, folks, get your markers ready. Write it down. That way I don't forget in about 12 months when you go, Alex, that didn't come true. Fine. It didn't come true. Whatever. Get over it. So, my predictions for 2018 begin with John Cena will retire after breaking Ric Flair's record.
Ooh. Okay. That's believable. I could see that.
ROH gets a national television deal.
Okay.
I know they have one already as far as with Sinclair Broadcasting, and they get certain markets, but I'm saying coast to coast.
You're talking Monday Night Nitro Wars, maybe.
Or like a Saturday night main event or something. They're going to get something big.
Okay. I can see that.
This Swami says this happens.
Okay.
Ronda Rousey will make her debut. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble time
with the relationship of MMA. A lot of MMA, female MMA fighters have been popping up in WWE. It's almost like a foreshadowing of Ronda Rousey coming to the WWE.
It's getting the audience prepared for that style of women's wrestling.
Dig it. I dig it.
Undertaker will not wrestle this year.
Oh.
He will not be at WrestleMania. He will make an appearance at some house shows, I'm sure, but not in a wrestling.
Like TV?
No, he's not going to be on TV.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's done.
Okay.
However, Daniel Bryan will wrestle again, and I think he will wrestle under the banner of Ring of Honor.
I can see that. They've been talking about it. A lot of speculation this past year, so okay.
Kenny Omega will win the G1 this year. However, he will not win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Who will win that championship is Tetsuya Naito, coming out of Wrestle Kingdom.
Ah, okay.
As far as a championship in WWE, there will be a WWE title match at WrestleMania between one AJ Styles and one Shinsuke Nakamura. I really hope that comes true. And lastly, Roman Reigns will continue to be booed.
Very good predictions for 2018. I can say that I agree with most of those.
Now, which are the ones you don't agree with?
Well,
first off, you give me yours, and then we'll expound upon the ones we don't think are going to happen.
Well, here's what I'm saying. Bet those predictions for 2018. I have some doozies and some long shots, okay? Hulk Hogan will return to the WWE in 2018.
That is not as far-fetched as you can imagine.
I think a lot of people are, not a lot of people, but I feel that there are some people out there that are, I think it's time. I think it's time for Hulkster to come back. If he doesn't come back to WWE, he will definitely make an appearance in New Japan.
Wow.
And he could be a member of the Bullet Club, or he could just come out as Hollywood or just Hulk Hogan and
That's
just
interesting.
Say a little something to the people and, just something. I see that happening.
He comes out and brothers it up.
He brothers it up. The only thing that's going to happen at the end is Hogan will pose. Now, to your Undertaker prediction, I'm going to say that Undertaker does not wrestle this year at WrestleMania. I will agree there.
But
I'm going to say Undertaker goes into the WWE Hall of Fame this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's time. I think they've already alluded to the fact that he's retired. But I'm going to say that Taker does go into the Hall of Fame.
And going full 360, they're going to be in New Orleans. You know where that was? Where he lost the streak.
Oh.
Full 360. That's where he ends his streak, and that's where he ends his
career. There you go.
Technically, his career ended last year, but
I would like to see him. I mean, it would have been nice to see him do it in Texas, but I mean, hey, it does make sense, with losing the streak in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why not? I'll say that Kenny Omega does win the IWGP heavyweight title
this year,
this
calendar year.
I think so.
Okay.
I think he's going to win the G1 again. I think he's going to win the G1, and then he's going to win the title afterwards. Yeah. And he will take it from Naito.
But my only thing is, if he does win the G1, his title shot is not until Wrestle Kingdom 13, which will not happen until 2018.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry, 2019.
Well, then we'll have to have another discussion
right?
at the end of 2018 to discuss 2019. But I'm thinking that Omega's going to there's going to be some way that he's some heel. Okay, I'm going blue here. I'm going to go blue here. I'm sorry. Some heel ass shit way to do it.
Yeah.
I really do think that that's what's going to happen. He's going to do some heel stuff. I mean, look at this match with Jericho and him and Jericho. Apparently, it's become a no holds barred match.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So if you're looking at it that way, why not? Why wouldn't Kenny Omega have an edge to him now after facing Y2J in a no holds barred match? And saying, you know what, now I want the belt. Now I want it.
Do you want a cool little piece of trivia?
Sure.
So you know the booker of New Japan, Gato?
Yeah.
He used to wrestle in a promotion called WAR, Wrestling and Romance in Japan.
Okay.
He teamed with Chris Jericho.
Really?
When he was Lionheart Chris Jericho.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's how that relationship was worked out with New Japan. It's like the booker used to wrestle. Yeah, come on.
Yeah. I think it happens across the board throughout any brand of wrestling.
He also, Gato said, as far as wrestling goes, Kenny Omega stands no chance against Chris Jericho as a wrestler.
So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, it's going to be booked very well, especially if anybody's watched New Japan, you know how well the story of the match goes, and knowing, you know, I'm going to stop on this tangent. We'll get to Wrestle Kingdom next week.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with my last prediction for 2018.
Okay.
I predict that Finn Balor will become the Universal Champion at some point in time in 2018.
That is a great prediction.
I'm going to say, and in conjoining with that, Brock Lesnar leaves the WWE in 2018. That opens up the title for more defenses, more appearance of the belt, more Attitude Era-esque title defenses. We're going to see this belt being defended more on Raw, more times than not. We're going to see it being defended on pay-per-views and things like that, but we're going to see maybe Finn Balor winning the belt on a Monday Night Raw.
Like he did the first time.
I
can see that. That'd be really cool.
Those are my predictions of 2018. So,
guys, if you have any predictions or if you disagree with anything, I don't know why you would. That'd be foolish of you.
Yes.
You know, leave a comment on our Instagram page. Shoot us an email. Tell us why we're geniuses.
Yeah, definitely.
Or on the 26th of January, come out to El Luchador.
Yeah, that's right. At 622 Roosevelt Street here in San Antonio, Texas. We're going to be doing some wrestling trivia. So if you have any comments or anything like that you want to bring up to the table for our podcast, just come on down and hang out with us. Bring your Lanny Poffo graduation caps and gowns and think about it. Give us some feedback, and also bring your stable with you, if you will, and win at our trivia night.
Yeah, and mark out to us. Tell us how awesome we are, because that'll always make us feel better.
They like that.
Yeah.
We like that.
We love that.
Yeah. So we'll be right back, and we're actually going to be speaking with that funny wrestling video guy, Anthony Cortez Haynes. I'm really excited because this guy was this a fun interview? He was actually really cool, very accepting about everything, very much like Simon Grimm, just a very honest guy.
East Coast guy, right?
Yeah, actually, East Coast from New Jersey.
Hey!
So, good times there. So, we'll be right back after this.
If you're interested in San Antonio's nightlife or just got out of work and want to knock a few back with some friends, check out El Luchador, located at 622 Roosevelt in Southtown. El Luchador is a wrestling-themed bar with a neighborhood bar feel. They've got a friendly staff and offer great drink specials. They also host a variety of events such as Loteria Night, Trivia Night, and live music. Be sure to add them on Facebook at Luchador Bar SA. El Luchador, located at 622 Roosevelt in Southtown.
Hey moviegoers, this is Ryan D, aka Ryan 680. This is Alamo City Movie Talk. Meet my crew.
I'm Mike at Polaris Mike. We do movie reviews.
Juan at Cloud X Drive, and we do trailer reactions.
I'm Juan the Cook Crane, and we do everything movie related. And once again, you're listening to One Sweet Wrestling Podcast.
Again, man, thank you so much, Anthony Cortez Haynes, for taking the time and doing this interview with me.
Dude, no problem at all.
So Just going to ask you a few questions here. Nothing too fancy. What gave you the idea to start doing these wrestling videos?
So I got into the whole video space and I was making like them corny Vine videos.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like corny, but like the one that everyone else makes. Like, oh, there's a hot girl. Let me look at her.
Right.
I just broke my neck. You know what I'm saying? So I was doing that for a little bit, and my girlfriend was like, whoa, buddy, you got to calm down. And I was like, oh, well, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do?
Well, wait, why did she tell you to calm down?
Because it was all these videos where it was like fake relationships.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? If you're familiar with David Starr, do you know David Starr?
Yeah.
Wrestler on the Indies. Well, I was using his girlfriend at the time for like all these videos, and it was always like, we're in a relationship, and you know what I'm saying? And it would be different situations.
Gotcha.
And she's a model, so obviously no girl's happy with that.
Yeah.
So it goes on, and then eventually I was like, okay, well, what do I know outside of this? And I know wrestling because I wrestled for 5 years. So from there, I was like, oh man, I should definitely do this. And we made one video, and it did all right. It did a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, well, this is kind of funny. And I just kept on going, and everyone was like, oh man, stop doing the wrestling videos. That's corny. And I was like, nah, man, like you don't get where it's going.
Right.
I was like, you don't get it, man. Like, I was like, I feel like I can really connect with these people because I know what they like.
Yeah, you were in the business for what, 5 years, you said?
Yeah, man.
Where were you wrestling out of?
I live in the East Coast, so I was doing like the East Coast, and then my final little run, I was down in San Juan for WWC with Carlos Colon.
Oh, wow. Who trained you?
Yeah. Long story short, the Monster Factory split into like 100 different schools, but before like the split, it was the traditional Monster Factory.
Okay.
Up in New Jersey, so that's where I'm from.
Right on, man. What was your gimmick?
Dude. And that's another thing is I feel like it was a blessing in disguise getting into the skits, because with wrestling, like you always want to be the tough guy.
Right.
And I feel like that's a huge problem now on the scene. Like there isn't enough comedy acts. There isn't enough entertainment. It's everyone's an MMA fighter or everyone's super tough. And now like the mark thing's coming in a little bit where everyone's like following the bucks and everyone's trying to have a good time with the Too Sweets and the Suckets.
Yeah.
But during the 2010 to 2015 where I was coming up, the Kyle O'Reilly was like huge. So that style of everyone kicking the piss out of you, and you know what I mean? It was extremely stiff style back then, and everyone wanted to be super portrayed as tough.
Yeah, I hear you. And I mean, like, that's interesting, though, because I really wanted to ask you that question if you were in the business, because I could tell by your facial expressions in your videos, you have like this, like it's very theatrical, if you will, and like you kind of like have that face, like I'm like, you know what, he looks like he might have worked somewhere. And you know, I'm in South Texas, so wrestling is kind of like a thing here. It's basically football and wrestling when it comes to Texas. So just watching you work in your videos, I'm like, is he working? And so it's kind of cool just to kind of tell, like, just to be able to tell that and whatnot. But that's pretty cool, man. Did you ever, it was just a 5-year run, and that was, you know, or do you plan on wanting to go back? Is that just a kind of like a you know what, I did it and, you know, moving on kind of thing? Or is it still ingrained in you?
Well, so the way that it ended was I tore my knee. And that was when I flew back from Puerto Rico, and I came back here, and then I was trying to get things rolling over here, but it's a completely different scene. Like in Puerto Rico, you're wrestling in front of thousands of people every night.
Right.
Here, you're only wrestling in front of a couple hundred, maybe 100. And not saying that's like deflating, but then when injuries start adding on top of it, because it was a torn knee, and then I got a concussion, and then a couple concussions, and I was like, what am I doing? There has to be another way to get over without getting beat up. And I'm like, that's nothing against wrestling. It's just there had to have been another way for me to get over without being dropped on my head.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take care of yourself. I mean, we actually spoke with Simon Grimm, and he was talking about basically how the business, I mean, you kind of just have to take care of yourself, you know, like it's a little more tough on the body doing some of the things that what he was explaining, what he does and what some other guys do. They were just like doing a lot of yoga and things like that, just to kind of stay in shape, or not stay in shape, but like get their body relaxed and able to get used to the bumps and stuff like that as much as you possibly can, because I don't think anyone ever gets used to bumps, right? I mean,
they don't. Over time, they're not as bad, but the big thing with me was like head trauma, because CTE is like blowing up now, and concussions. I think that people think in the short term a lot, and they think, oh, well, I'm going to do this crazy spot for X amount of people, and they're not thinking, hey, I'm going to be 40 one day. Hey, I'm going to be 50 one day.
Yeah.
Like, Nigel McGuinness released a documentary back in maybe it was 2012. It was about his last run, and he was talking about the concussions and he was talking about it from before he started announcing. So he was from the other side of being like, hey, I tore my body up, but for what?
Yeah.
And I'm not looking at it like as a for what thing, but it's like, I want a future. You know what I mean? Everyone wants a future. I can't only think, oh, well, I'm going to be super hot now, and then I'm going to be Dynamite Kid.
Good analogy.
And that's the way another thing that really threw me off was, so I wrestled this show in front of like no one. And again, that shouldn't matter, but it was in front of no one, and I got kneed in a concussion. And I started slurring a little, and it was like these weird stutters in my speech. So for me, that was terrifying.
Yeah, I bet.
And then when I talked to someone, I don't want to put their name out there because they're a little well known now.
Sure.
But I had a conversation with them about it, and I was like, well, how long should I take off? And they were like, well, you shouldn't take off. You should just wrestle next weekend. I was like, you got to keep wrestling. And I was like, have you wrestled on, like, what?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, I had a concussion 2 weeks ago, and I'm still wrestling. And I'm like, well, dude, like, I don't want to be brain dead.
Yeah. That sounds like a very old school mentality way of thinking. I think a lot of the old guys kind of just, not old guys, but guys with that have that frame of mind. It's like, got to keep going kind of thing. But speaking of like older wrestlers, I mean, obviously to get into the business and to continue doing something outside of the business, which I think is great. I mean, it's healthier for you, obviously, doing those videos. So who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up?
Growing up, it was Jeff Hardy.
Really?
Anyone says that Jeff Hardy wasn't their favorite wrestler, I don't believe him, because to me, he was it was insane the things he was doing.
Yeah. At
least for the time. And then growing up, I started respecting the Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar. You remember that WrestleMania match?
Oh, yeah.
Like the Randy Orton when he was the Legend Killer. Things like that really used to would blow me up. I was like, this is amazing.
Probably Randy's best gimmick was the Legend Killer.
100%.
I honestly believe that, because I mean, like, now it's kind of like Randy just kind of, he goes through the motions. He kind of phones it in now, from what I'm seeing as a fan, and that the guy can work. It's just now he's kind of like, I'm older now, just gonna hang out and do my thing, do a few spots, whatever. But Legend Killer Randy Orton, that RKO on the car to Hogan, classic, loved it. So Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, and later on the technical wrestling and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and then obviously getting into it, it became like Bryan Danielson, Austin Aries. Man, I can't say enough good things about Austin Aries. Austin Aries, a good friend of mine, Shane Strickland, Ricochet, obviously the Young Bucks. Like, those became, like, I prefer watching that now over watching the product.
Yeah. We were actually at a Ring of Honor show when they came through San Antonio, Texas, where we live. And, I mean, the crowd was just hot. It was crazy. If you actually check out Being the Elite, I think it's episode 83, they pan over the crowd. You'll see, like, me, my co-host, my girlfriend, and my nephew in the crowd amongst a sea of Bullet Club shirts. It's hilarious. But it's fun. I mean, it's always a good time to check out those live events and whatnot. And I mean, so we're talking favorite wrestlers. Who's your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers? I always kind of ask people this, like, your Mount Rushmore, personal Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Honestly, Kevin Steen, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks. I think they. Ooh, and if I could add Ricochet to that, like, I think that top, but that's newer. You know what I mean? So.
No, that's fine. I mean, this is your personal Mount Rushmore. Forget like what everybody else says, because everyone's gonna say Hogan, Stone Cold will be in there. Maybe Ric Flair, The Rock. Maybe I'd put Vince on there.
But you want to watch a Vince McMahon match?
No.
Like if there was no build, like there's no build, it's just Vince versus wrestler X.
Yeah. You could put Michaels on that. I think Shawn Michaels deserves some sort of conversation, you know?
Yeah, I think Michaels is definitely up there, but I think for the way that wrestling is evolved, in my mind, like I stand by the newer generation, which is crazy. Like, yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but it's crazy that because the style is so exciting now, but with that, it's so much more dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. It seems harder, like a tougher style. Very it seems like everyone kind of wants to wrestle that English style or that New Japan style and throw some spots and things like that. I like it. I like seeing the hard hitting style, to me, like when you're in the crowd and you hear that smack and you just see that guy sell and chalk his jaw like back and it just looks gross. Like just, oh man, it's the best.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, totally. So have any of your favorite wrestlers or just wrestlers in general seen your videos? And what do they say about it?
You know, it's a really weird line. It's a really weird line because I don't know anyone personally that's like been like I know like Scotty Too Hottie has shared my videos, but like I don't really check my shares anymore.
Yeah.
Like I did in the beginning, but I don't like look at them as much. And it's so weird because like when I see the numbers, I just see them as numbers. But then when I get like DMs and stuff, I'm like, oh man, this is real people. And I love talking to people, but I've never like hit up anyone bigger and been like, hey, you check my stuff out, brother.
Now I kind of feel bad. No,
it's cool.
But the cool thing is, man, is that like, you know, as a wrestling fan, and I'm sure Facebook kind of has like some way of filtering out all your stuff and going, oh, this guy's a wrestling fan. He would enjoy this video by Anthony Cortez Haynes. You pop up in my feed like most times, often than not. And I always like just get a kick out of it because as a wrestling fan, I get it. Like what was the one that we crack up on is the when wrestling fans get ready to go out and you're dressing up as the New Day and the Shield and stuff like that. And and Too Cool. It's hilarious. Just the stuff that you do, man. And I totally support it. Like it's a comedic, it's kind of, you know, to me, and this is just as a type of musician, as a heavy metal musician, heavy metal is like, a lot of people take it seriously, but there's always that comedic edge to it. And that's kind of how I feel about pro wrestling. Like the comedic edge is always great. And when you have like your Dean Malenko matches and your Kurt Angle matches and your Bryan Danielson matches, things like that, like, that's awesome, but I think like looking at it from a perspective of comedy and having like your buddies join in on you, and it always makes. I saw one earlier today, which was I think you guys are playing like Nerf guns or something. And he's like,
yeah.
I don't want to do the wrestling thing. Like believe in the Shield, classic lines. So I mean, keep doing what you're doing, man, because it's awesome. As a wrestling fan, I'm going to say it's awesome what you're doing.
Dude, thank you so very much. And it's something that I think about a lot. Like I really try to navigate this a lot. And I feel like it's something that no one has done per se, is tried to go from the perspective of the fan.
Right.
Like no one has been like, I'm a mark and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Like this is what it is. Hey, I love pro wrestling. Like point blank period, this is what it is. And I feel like because no one's done it, there's like a whole world of things I can do. Then it's pretty much limitless.
Yeah, definitely. And I tell you what, man, if you ever want to come onto our show and just speak your mind about what's going on with the product or anything in the indies, you're more than welcome to kind of just be a special guest host with us on some of our shows, because we'd appreciate that. Because I mean, for me, starting up this thing, you were one of the inspirations to do this. So just to be able to talk to you, it's just it's an honor, and it's really cool just to like get to know you, get some of like pick your brain a little bit as far as like some of the things you've done, and just get your name out there. Because I think if people haven't heard of you by now, they should.
Dude,
you know?
Thank you so very much, man.
No problem. One thing I do want to ask you, a couple of things. We got a couple more questions. Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho, Wrestle Kingdom 12. What's your take on it? And how do you feel the build-up's going?
Okay, obviously, I think that it's going to be a monumentous thing. I think it's huge. I'm extremely excited for it. I think the build I don't want to say let me down, but I feel like it revealed too much to me.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is I feel as though the match is going in the direction of being simply a brawl. Because now it's a blood feud, and it's like they're not going to go in there and have a 5-star match. They're going to go in there, brawl around the ring, I'm going to hit you with this, and then we're going to go in, do some high spots, and then it's going to break down to more of a brawl. And then, I hit him with the title, 1, 2, 3, some type of screw finish.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take on that. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I see your perspective from it, because it just seems like a lot of this stuff is just geared towards the shock factor. Because I want to say I was listening to, and I'm not ashamed, I listen to Dave Meltzer's podcast sometimes.
And I do too.
He actually mentioned something about the blood, the blade job from Omega, and it's kind of like they haven't done it in the past 5 or 6 years. So now you're getting more of that 90s American style wrestling being brought over to Japan again. I kind of see it as like an old 90s New Japan match, if that makes sense. I kind of feel like that's the direction they may go. I don't know.
Well, without saying anything negative, I remember the build to Styles and Jericho and how excited I was for that match at WrestleMania. And then I remember seeing the WrestleMania match and not being the happiest with what happened. Same. Like I was just like, So I have a personal bias in thinking like, hey, he might not be able to go the same way that he used to, and this would be the best option for him to stay face and keep it obviously on the magnitude that it is. Like, this is a star-studded match. Hogan and Rock, you know what I mean? Do you remember their match?
I just saw that a couple of days ago. Probably, I forgot about it, but it was one of my favorite matches. It's become one of my favorite matches again.
Yeah, and that's what I think this is going to become. It's not going to be about the wrestling. It's going to be a huge stand for 5 minutes. This is awesome chant before they even touch. It's going to start with punches. I guarantee you that.
Totally.
It's boom, 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 boom. They might do a little spot, but they're going to the outside, and it's going to turn into a brawl. Full-on brawl.
Yeah. Totally. I dig it. Let's see what happens, Wrestle Kingdom 12 on January 4th. But a couple of more questions. How about wrestling predictions for 2018? You have any predictions as to what's going to happen?
I don't know, man. I really don't know. I feel like it's evolving every single day, it's scary, but it's like it keeps it extremely fresh to me.
Yeah. I think we're in a good time for wrestling right now.
One thing I'm extremely excited for is Cody Rhodes and the Bucks to actually put on that 10,000 seat show.
Yes, we were talking about that the other day, and we've heard the rumors, the relationship between Matt Jackson and CM Punk might play a factor into that. So that might be something interesting to see if that happens.
That would be a huge return.
Yeah. I mean,
and you have to remember Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, his contract, I mean, I'm not some insider,
right? But
supposedly his contract is going to be ending soon.
Yeah.
So that would be an amazing addition to.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they even mentioned something about he tweeted something a while back that he wanted to make all the Bullet Club members tap, something like that. I feel like it would be like a nod to your Dusty Rhodes character going up against the Four Horsemen, or your Sting against the NWO. We don't have that anymore. And I mean, if you think about it, the Bullet Club is basically the NWO of today, if that makes sense.
It is.
I mean,
it definitely is.
You got to have a Sting. There was always a hero to the bad guy. But it's funny because a lot of people are kind of riding the wave of the Bullet Club. I mean, obviously the show's called One Sweet Wrestling Podcast, but I love the faction, but I love the fact that they're bad guys.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like they're fully changing the game.
Yeah, definitely.
And honestly, I think they are a huge inspiration now to me, looking at things being like, hey, well, if these guys can change the wrestling world in their way, like, why can't I be as innovative in an outside spectrum?
Bro, I totally hear you on that. Like, same. And it's funny, like, someone was asking me, like, why do you love wrestling so much? It's like, because it's so universal. It's almost like music. And if you're a fan of it, you're in. Like, and once you're in, you're in. And the thing is like, definitely I agree with you. Like, the inspiration coming from that camp is basically like, dude, why can't I do that? I mean, those guys are printing money making t-shirts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, you actually have some t-shirts.
Oh, man, I have a ton of t-shirts.
Where can we get those t-shirts from?
Oh, AnthonyCortezHaynes.com.
Oh.
I thought you were talking about, I'm currently wearing a Bullet Club shirt, so I thought you were talking about that. And I was just like, oh, yeah, I'm wearing a Bullet Club shirt.
I'm giving you plugs, brother. I'm giving you plugs.
I'm wearing a Bullet Club shirt.
Hey, I got those segues, man. I worked in TV for a few years, so I learned a thing or two.
Killing them segues. Got me off my game.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good. Okay, one more question. Future plans for 2018 for Anthony Cortez Haynes, and where can we see you?
Future plans. I 100% want to figure out a way of doing live shows. I haven't fully broken down how I want to do it. I don't know if I want to go through the avenue of pro wrestling. I personally don't want to wrestle. I'm just putting that out there. I don't want to, like, wrestling would be great. I don't think, for my brand, I think that, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I think for my brand, it would be smarter for me not to do it.
Makes sense.
I think whether it be like a mix of Colt Cabana, because I know Colt Cabana does stand-up. I don't know how often, but like if it was like some type of stand-up show, if it was a live performance show, something. I believe that live shows is what I would think I should be doing in 2018.
That's cool, man.
Something along those lines.
Well, I know that we're going to look forward to seeing that, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can check out your videos and just basically keep up with you, because you're doing a lot of stuff, and I've noticed like you've got your videos on YouTube. You tell them where we can check you out.
All right, guys. So my biggest platform right now is Facebook. Every Monday a video comes out at 8 a.m. Facebook.com/AntCortezHaynes. You can find me over at YouTube on my YouTube channel. The videos are longer. There are more videos, and those videos have storylines, unlike the Facebook snippets. And obviously, I'm on Instagram at AntCortezHaynes. So that are the three places you can find me. I do not have a Twitter account. I currently do, but I'm getting rid of it because I think Twitter is the worst.
Same. I think we wanted to start one, but dude, for me, honestly, there's not enough time in the day to keep up with that.
It's the worst, man.
It really is. And I'm kind of tired of looking at everyone else's tweets half the time. I don't care if you're making a sandwich at 3 a.m.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. We appreciate you taking the time doing this interview. We'll keep up with you, and we'll talk to you soon. All right. So thank you, Anthony Cortez Haynes, for coming on to the show and doing this awesome interview with me. It was lots of fun. And major announcement, One Sweet Wrestling Podcast is moving to YouTube in 2018, so be on the lookout for that. I want to thank you, the listeners, for listening to One Sweet Wrestling Podcast and giving us a great 2017, right, Alex?
That's correct. I'd also like to thank you, Beto, especially. You are the backbone of this podcast. Without you, I don't know if a lot of this would be possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you see Beto in public, give him a pat on the back for all the hard work he's doing.
Just give me a one sweet and we'll call it even, brother. That's all good for me. I'd like to thank my girlfriend, Jerry Ashley, who's also our producer, who's actually been very supportive of everything that we've been doing and allowing this guy over here, Alex, to come over and record this podcast with us. And to be honest, bro, I wouldn't pick anybody else to be a co-host with me on this show. So thank you very much for putting in the time and the effort and just spreading your wealth of knowledge onto the listeners of One Sweet Wrestling Podcast.
Likewise, man. It's been a blast so far, and 2018 is looking like it's going to be a great year for us.
It's just around the corner. We've got lots of stuff happening in 2018, so I don't think there's anything left to say, but
we out.